Now they hosted on the 40 acres on campus grounds. We gather round, discussing goals and dreams and life's adventures. The Texas Longhorns, they're the talk of the town. Podcast tales of the 40 acres, where we dive deep into the game day stories. From touchdowns to heartbreakers, we discuss it all. Texas Longhorns glory. Here we gather around each Thursday night, talking sports, it's so alright. From football to basketball, baseball to softball, Tim Wayne and Harry, we cover it all. Sports talk is our passion, our delight. Thursday night at 8:30, we unite. We discuss the scores, the plays, the teams you might. Let's dive into the game, let's ignite.
12 conference champions. Oh, there we are. I almost missed it. I got it just in time. What's up, you guys? We are here. The number one team in the nation is back for another episode. Texas Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Harish. This is my boy Tim. Tim, how you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm good, man. It's Thursday. It's almost time for, it is the start of week 5 in college football. So I'm excited, man. We got some big things coming ahead. We got some big games coming ahead, especially this one. Man, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one this weekend.
You know, SEC play officially starts this week for the Longhorns, and so we've got a lot to cover, right? We want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Mississippi State, the update on Quinn Ewers. Sarkat has weekly Thursday pressure game. I guess Thursday before the game presser, he did say some stuff around SEC play and Quinn, and when we're going to know more about Quinn. So we'll talk more about that. And then, we'll talk about what's going on around college football. Some big news dropped today.
Man,
dropped the last couple days around NIL and you know how
is this going to be a trend?
Held accountable for their actions. What were you saying?
Is this going to turn into a trend?
I hope so. It's time for schools to be held accountable.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay, Let's get into it. Let's get into it when you pay after you pay.
Yeah. Let's pay the bills. Let's talk about it, and we'll talk about it here a little bit. As always, fanbattlesports.com. Fanbattlesports.com, where you can get the latest and greatest from the AFC South and, of course, the Texas Longhorn Fan Battle. Watch past episodes, read articles written by the team, and, find out when we all go live. We have 6 shows, one for the AFC South. We got this one, of course, and then we've got one for the Fumblerooski Titans, the Texans who looked human, and CJ Stroud looked a little confused for the first time in his career, I think. The Jaguars, generational quarterback who they don't know how to use. Generational quarterback who they don't know how to use. And you know what? That actually brings me to another topic I want to talk about. And we'll try to fit that in at the end. And it's completely unrelated to Texas, but it's something you and I talked about. And I definitely want to get my scoop in on that one. Yep. And then, of course, who's the other team? Oh, yeah, the Colts. Yes, the Colts who have a quarterback who can't throw a 5-yard out route right now. So, fanbattlesports.com. Also, we have a GM who still can't build a team in year 10. So there's that for you. Fanbattlesports.com. Hear all about it. We'll talk about all those teams there. All righty, Tim. We paid the bills. Follow us on Twitter at LH Fan Battle. I don't call it X. Neither does Tim, because that's not what we do around here. It is called Twitter. I don't care what Elon Musk says. That's not what I call it. So, LH Fan Battle. We are almost at 3,000 subscribers, 3,000 followers, which is awesome. So, thank you guys for the support there. Rush that support onto the YouTube channel where you can follow us, Longhorn Fan Battle. Like, comment, subscribe, interact with us every show. Love to hear what you guys' thoughts are as Texas heads into the SEC. SEC play officially starts this week, and I'm very excited. The volleyball team started SEC play, I think, last week or the week before. The football team is to follow suit. The basketball team is having a lot of fun, and when teams have fun, that is very dangerous. So, follow us for all the latest and greatest on the 40 Acres Longhorn Fan Battle on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. We're going to get right into it. SINIL. So, things are brewing in Sin City. And we'll talk about this, but I have this quote on a read from quarterback Matthew Sluka, who is the transfer from Holy Cross.
Yep.
Who was promised NIL money to essentially pick up and move from wherever Holy Cross is to Vegas.
Right.
I think the number I don't know the number for sure, but the number that's going around is $100,000. That's the one I've been hearing consistently.
That's what his agent is reporting. That an assistant coach guaranteed $100,000 if he were to come to UNLV.
Pop quiz. You know who the assistant coach is?
No. Only because I'm drawing a blank right now.
Brennan Marion. That's the rumor.
Are you serious?
That's the rumor. It's Brennan Marion,
Oh
former running back coach for the Texas Longhorns.
no, not
Somebody
Brennan
scapegoated the
Marion.
assistant coach. That's what people do. When they get in trouble, they just have to scapegoat somebody. Unfortunately, in this case, it was Brennan Marion, who's
Do you think it
apparently,
was?
allegedly.
Do you think it was Brennan Marion? Like honestly.
I don't think it was like him like intentionally wanting to do it, but I do think it was like him that will probably end up taking the fault.
Oh man, I liked Brennan Marion when he was here. He was a good
He
guy,
was great when he was really
Yeah.
good. He was instrumental in growing Bijan Robinson
right?
and Roshan Johnson. Stark's first year here. And yeah, no, I love Brennan Marion. I've got nothing against the guy, so I don't. If it is true, my think is that they needed somebody to throw under the bus. But let me read this. They also have a running back who late last night also said the same thing.
Yep.
And they all basically said the same thing. Of course, school has come out and they said, hey, we had no such agreement, blah, 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 jargon, legal, stick to the script. And I don't believe an ounce of what the school says because I am team player here. All right, so let's go through it. So Matthew Sluka tweets this out yesterday from his, I guess this is his Twitter account. But he basically said, I've decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing in any additional games this season. I guess he was like, you know what? I'll give you guys the first 3 games. And you know what? If I don't get what I want, then you're not going to see me again at all this year. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, NIL, which were not upheld after I enrolled, NIL. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program. Tim, what are your initial thoughts, reactions, and what do you think?
After hearing about the running back, and then also another guy that we haven't covered, but Bear Alexander also last night decided that he was going to redshirt. I never knew that this was an option. I never knew that. Like when I guess I'm showing my age. When you took a red shirt, it was because you either had more talent in front of you, you just hadn't developed it, you hadn't understood the system, you needed that time to get an understanding, and then go from there. Now players are taking a red shirt is nuts. This is if I'm the head coach at Michigan, I'm making a phone call. Hey, I got more money than UNLV could possibly ever have. Come on over here. We'll gladly take you because I need a quarterback and I got these high profile wide receivers possibly coming in here next year. I need somebody to throw them the football. I don't necessarily know what Bear Alexander's issue is because they didn't go into detail about it. It was a simple, he's taken the shirt text that was sent to Lincoln Riley. That's nasty. They got ran through a brick wall last week when they faced Michigan. That was very telling because we gave USC so much props and so much. And listen, everybody has a bad day, right? Everybody has a bad day on defense. You might even run into a couple weeks, but this is very telling. I think if some of these more high profile players end up start doing this, this is gonna cause an issue, and I think regulations will come into effect.
I think regulations are always going to happen.
If you are a player, if there is an Indeed player that was promised X amount of, whether it was verbal or not, you can't do that and then expect this high profile player to come in here because now it's a business. Now it's not just about school. It's a business now. So you can't, well, it's always been a business, but it's even more of a business now because you've involved money. And when you involve money, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Sluka's agent told him that he needs to sit out. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if you were guaranteed $100,000 in NIL money. That's a payday that Sluka's agent is probably would probably get a cut of.
There's
Cromartie,
yeah, no,
Cromartie, his agent. So yeah, Marcus Cromartie, I could see him being like, "Hey, listen, you were promised $100,000. There's no time. There's no telling when you could possibly go up against Boise State and get hit, and now you don't. Now you're injured, and now you don't have any money.
yeah,
You need to make a decision. We would recommend that you sit out for the rest of the year and take a red shirt and either go somewhere else or get your money because he could come back at any time.
yeah. I have a few
So
thoughts on.
what's that?
No. Finish your thought there.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Like I just don't want it. Listen, if you're a coach, if you're a staff member, whatever it is, if you're promising this money, put it on paper. Because now it's a bunch of he said, she said. So now it's a bunch of it's all in the air. It's all speculation. You got a 3-0 team that could possibly win the Mountain West. You're up a game against Boise State. Boise State is number 2. You're number 1. So now you have a real opportunity if you were to keep to keep things going. You have a real opportunity to make a move. If you're able to stay undefeated, of course you're going to need to stay undefeated. Now they got a test. They got Syracuse, which I don't think they're going to be Syracuse. I think they'll be Oregon State. I think they'll be Hawaii. I think they can be San Jose State. So they've got they've got Fresno State. Of course they got Utah State. Boise is in October, mid-October. They've got an opportunity. I just don't see it happening on next Friday when they play against Syracuse, because Syracuse is balling out of control. And if they start to balling out of control, that's another team we need to start paying attention to, because Kyle McCord is over there throwing a rock around, looking way better than Will Howard is currently. And
shocking.
I mean,
I'm shocked.
You're not shocked. You're such an ass.
I'm so shocked. You mean to tell me that Will Howard, in the 18 years he's played college football, he still can't throw the ball? That's crazy. I
think Kyle McCord looks better than Will Howard
because he's better.
Fair enough. That's fair.
You know why he looks better? Because he is better. That's like Oklahoma fans telling us that Jackson Arnold was miraculously going to figure it out in 3 weeks.
Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. Let's not get started on Jackson Arnold. I had to literally, I felt like Oklahoma fans were on a ledge this weekend, and I ran into a bunch of, because I was in the area Saturday when during the homecoming stuff. No, I wasn't in Norman. I was just downtown. I was just during the game. I was in the area. I was in the area of the stadium, and there were a bunch of Oklahoma fans. It's homecoming weekend, so it's just a bus loads of people down there. Like literally, way more people than normal because of homecoming. So it was a great festivity. A bunch of great festivities going on, man. Got to see the Oklahoma fans literally looking like a ghost hit him, and it was just awesome. It was an awesome thing. I just wanted to just take it all in.
A ghost call reality. Yeah. We'll talk about that when we talk about college football around the nation later.
Yeah.
So here's a couple thoughts. Number one, put it on paper. It didn't happen. So that's on both parties.
1,000%. I agree with that.
Number two, if UNLV promised this money, they should be held accountable, which is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. This is why the universities didn't want players to get paid, or this is why they didn't want endorsements. They didn't want any way for them to be held accountable for things that they used to do under the table. And guess what? Whether it's $1, $1,000, or $100,000 or $1 million, you're going to be held accountable. If you remember last year, the same thing happened to that Florida quarterback who allegedly, was supposed to get like 11 million or 12 million, something stupid. Probably wasn't true. But again, it's all about accountability. This is exactly why I love NIL. You, as a university, can no longer hide behind the table. You are going to get exposed. These players are smarter when it comes to social media. They know how to work the game. whether now the agent could be an idiot and the agent is stupid for not allowing it to be put on paper. If you are a undrafted player and you make the practice squad on an NFL team, guess what you sign?
A contract.
Exactly. If you are receiving and Texas, I think there are some folks that I was listening to earlier this week, and they were talking to their Texas sources. Texas documents everything. And of course, a major university like Texas would document everything. And Stark kind of alluded to it earlier today. He was kind of like, "Hey, like, essentially, like, we're good. We've got our bases covered, but these are the types of things that are going to come up around the country when players are promised things that, quite frankly, the universities cannot keep."
Yeah, this definitely reminds me of that Florida situation. That was bad because they had a really high end.
I don't even remember who it was.
I can't remember the quarterback that was there and then decided to leave.
Yeah,
but it was a big deal. Like that was a thing. Like, all right, Florida might have something because they got a decent quarterback coming in here, a really talented quarterback coming in here, and he decided to just say, "Peace, I'm out."
Yeah,
you promised me big NIL money, and I'm not getting it, so I'm out.
Yep. So that's number two. Or I guess whatever, 2 or 3. And you know what? Sit out. Hold out. Make this university be held accountable and make them do something to show you that they're going to do what they promised. And you know what? The running back did the same thing. So they promised their 2 best players on their team, right, their offensive team, that A, you're going to get this money, and B, they're not doing it. They're not paying it out, so they should be held accountable. And this is exactly what happened. So we'll continue to follow this story. I thought it was very interesting that
it was Jaden Rosado.
Yeah, Jaden Rosado. There you go. That's the running back, right?
No, Jaden Rosado is the guy that left. He decommitted from Florida.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Where did he end up going?
He signed with Arizona State.
Arizona State. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's 2 different schools. Well, I mean, I guess right now they're probably the same. But yeah, hold these schools accountable. That's all I care about. I'm not worried about the people are like, well, NIL has changed the game where universities can no longer cheat the players out of the money that they're earning off of them. Absolutely. Sorry, you got caught. That's how I feel about it. I don't really care what anybody else thinks. But it's about time that people, and especially players, start holding the universities accountable.
Yeah.
And that's all this is. So we'll continue to follow. On the other side, Bear Bryant also did the same thing. At first, I was like, sweet, let's go get Bear Bryant. But then I've been convinced otherwise that we should not get Bear Bryant because he's been to 3 different schools in 3 years. And so he is unstable.
Bear Alexander. And Arizona's 3-1 right now.
Bear Alexander. Yeah, Bear Alexander. That's his name. Well, Arizona State, I've seen them play
Kansas this week. They play Kansas this week. They play Kansas this week. And Kansas, listen, I thought Kansas was going to be it.
I don't know what's going on.
They look terrible. They look absolutely like what happened.
I don't know. Jaden Daniels is still there, right? I mean, they still got the running back. They still got the same. Like, that offense was supposed to be booming. Jaden Daniels is throwing a lot of picks.
Man, he looks
turning the ball over. But we'll continue to look at it, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated as we hear more info. Of course, if something crazy happens that we absolutely want to cover about a team that's not Texas, we'll jump on here and let you guys know. But that's probably not often, so just check us out on Twitter. We keep you guys updated there.
Yep.
All righty, Tim, let's go through our top 12 real quick. Texas, of course, handles business. We'll talk about that here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I didn't put the banner up for that, so let me do that. Let's see. Who did we play? ULM versus Texas review. We'll take a look at that. I want to get your thoughts on Arch. I have some thoughts on Arch, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Before we do that, though, heading into week 5, here's what I have as your top 10, and then we'll show my top 10, and we'll kind of discuss it, go from there. So bear with me while I do some maneuvering here of my single screen that I've got. I think this is yours. Yep, this is yours. So you've got Texas number 1, Tennessee 2, Ohio State 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Miami 6, Ole Miss 7, Penn State 8, Oregon 9, Utah 10, Missouri 11. And as of right now, you've got UNLV 12. Is there anything that's here that convinces you that this is going to stick?
No, it's not. I didn't like the loss that that Boise State had. UNLV, I had to go and do some actual research on UNLV. I went back and watched a lot of their how they have those condensed games. Well, they put those condensed games on YouTube and you're able to find them. And I went and watched the condensed game. I was just like doing my everyday thing, getting ready for the day and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they look good. They look pretty good.
They had a great offense.
Their offense is really good. They've had a great running back. I don't know if this will stick. It was still between. I still wanted to put Boise State up there. I put UNLV up there just because. Listen, they looked good. Their offense looks really good. Sluka, if you can get that kid paid, you need to get that kid paid. You need to get him back on the field.
You got to figure it out. Yeah, Brennan Marion, of course, is the offensive coordinator there now.
That's your best chance of winning. So get him back on the field. If you want to West, figure it out.
I think they're on a bye this week, so they've got a little bit of time.
Right. Yeah. Figure it out. Get those guys back on the field. And back on uniform. Listen. I wanted to put Georgia in the top 4. I left them out of the top 4 today, simply because I still don't like what they have to offer. Beck is still banged up a bit. The offensive lineman is still hurt. They got Alabama this week. I don't think they beat Alabama this week, if you want me to be completely honest with you.
Okay, I was going to ask you later, but okay.
I'm sorry. We can go more into detail about it later, but I don't know how I'm feeling about that game. Honestly, I will say this: it's more of a toss-up. I don't know which way to go.
Yeah,
I don't know which way. This is a rivalry game. This is a rivalry game because it can go anyway. Miami, they're literally in. Listen, we thought the Pac-12 was bad last year. The ACC is absolutely treacherous this year. Clemson put a thumping on North Carolina State. How did they go from looking really good to looking really bad? Again, it's a rivalry game. It's early in the year. North Carolina State can still bounce back from it, but they look terrible.
And they looked bad for a couple games. They got put 50 on by Tennessee too.
Yeah. I mean, but that's Tennessee though. That's bad. Yeah. Tennessee's good, and Tennessee has a great defensive line. Shout out to their defensive line. They made Jackson Arnold look like a bitch, basically.
Confirmed that he looked that way.
He looked terrible.
Yeah, he looked terrible.
Utah, again, I don't know how they keep winning. They don't have their Cam Rising. Probably going to come back again for a 10th year next year. He's going to be 27 going into the draft next year. So shout out to him. Just shout out to him. Dude, he messed up his hand, bro.
Is it his throwing hand?
Yeah, it's like his wrist, like a wrist hand combination type situation going on there.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, Cam, get better, man. Hate to see you getting.
I like him.
I like Cam at Texas when he did play. He looked great.
Cam Rising, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when Steve Sarkisian decided not to play him? I mean, I do.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sorry, not Steve Sarkisian. Tom Herman. Idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. Penn State, they look good for right now. Again, I think they'll run into a dud. they got to eventually play Iowa. I mean, not Iowa, Illinois. I think Illinois might give them a run for their money. Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss. They look really good right now. Missouri, I still can't put them above 10. I just don't trust Missouri right now.
Besides Texas, Missouri has the easiest schedule in the SEC.
I know.
They play Oklahoma. I could score more points than Oklahoma right now.
I think Oklahoma will. I think Missouri will beat Oklahoma, but again, I think when it comes up to Oklahoma, Tennessee versus Missouri, who are you taking right now?
Tennessee
versus Alabama, who you taking? I mean, Alabama versus Missouri, who you taking?
Alabama.
Georgia versus Missouri, who you taking?
Georgia, but I'm not very confident in that pick.
Texas versus Missouri, who you taking?
Texas would boat race Missouri.
That's why they're that low. It's like I look at them like, oh, okay, like this could be a great matchup. I just don't think right now they're a favorable matchup for any of the SEC teams that are at the top.
That's fair. That is completely fair.
That's why. Do I think they'll give them a run? Oh, absolutely. I think listen, they can score. Do I think it's a great matchup? No, I don't think Missouri is really great stopping the run. They're not really that.
They lost a lot on that defense, which is something coming in.
They did lose a lot on the defense, but their offense is very potent. I'm not knocking them.
It is very good.
Yeah. So Missouri fans, like if you're a Missouri fan, guys, listen, I'm not knocking you. I'm just looking at what they would be going up against if they were to go into the SEC championship. And that is why I'm doing that.
Okay. So, yeah. All right. All righty. So let me share my top 10 or top 12, which is a little bit different from yours.
Yeah. I mean, not much though. Not too crazy.
Wait. Hold on
I thought this was the 1 week where it took me the longest to actually come up with the 12.
Yeah, and I think as time goes on, we'll get more comfortable with we're gonna figure out a lot of stuff about a lot of teams over the coming weeks, right?
I think September going into October, we're gonna figure out a lot. Again,
October's gonna tell us a lot.
Oh my gosh,
especially when it comes to Ohio State, we're gonna learn a lot in October. But let me get this pulled up here. So this is my top 12. Yeah, it's actually not too different. I believe a little bit more in Missouri than you do.
Right.
I still don't believe that much in Oregon. I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second.
This week, tomorrow it's gonna be a great game. Virginia Tech versus Miami. That's a rivalry. You got Baylor versus BYU. A lot of people may shake their heads at that. That game right there has been really, really good the last couple of years. Of course, you got Oklahoma State versus Kansas State, classic Big 12 matchup. Kentucky versus Ole Miss. It's Saturday. Louisville versus Notre Dame. Now, if Louisville beats Notre Dame, you have to put them in the top 10. You absolutely have to put them in the top 10.
Or you can just validate that Notre Dame sucks.
No, because that too. Of course, Oklahoma versus Auburn. You know what? We'll save that for later.
So
go ahead, do your thing.
I've got Texas number 1. I've got Tennessee number 2.
And
I think it's just a simple fact that Tennessee has now steamrolled 2 Power 4 schools, both on the road, right? Mm-hmm. So they power steam North Carolina. I think they play North Carolina State on the road. Might have played them at home, but then they go to Norman and listen. That the 10-point win, right, isn't really doing justice to what really happened in that game.
Yeah, that was they were getting beat up. They were getting beat up. Yeah.
And we'll talk about Michael Hawkins later. He came in cold at home. No pressure to do anything. They just wanted to see something happen. It's going to be a little different this week.
He put up some points. No, listen.
A touchdown.
He looked better than Jackson Arnold.
I mean, that's not really saying much. That's not hard to do. I have Ohio State number
Jackson
3.
Arnold is Jackson Arnold Oklahoma's David Ash.
You know what? I think Jackson Arnold is Texas's is Oklahoma's Hudson Card.
Hudson Card could put up points. Hudson Card saved us from one.
Well, David Ash can play too. He just got hurt all the time. Dude, when David Ash was healthy, he was actually pretty good.
I understand, but he did do some. He did okay. One thing we knew that David Ash was going to do, we knew he was going to turn the ball over. He was going to turn that ball over. He wasn't the most healthy quarterback at all either, and I hate that he had to retire because of injuries and things like that. But he also, we knew that he would throw. He would also give us an interception.
Yeah,
at least one or two.
That's fair.
So,
but we'll see. Ohio State is 3. I think October is going to tell us a lot about Ohio State. A lot of people are high on them. I'll keep them high. They haven't played anybody yet. They played 3 bum schools. So, but they're blowing them out, right? They're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Alabama 4 or 5. This is Alabama, Georgia 4 or 5 respectively. This is where it gets interesting, and we will have to talk about it later. Like, does the winner of this game jump Texas? And I think it just kind of depends on how that game is won.
If it's a blowout,
one way or the other, then I can see it.
Yeah. I can respect it. Listen, I'm not one of the
college football up until this point.
Right. I'm not
will be the best win.
I'm not delusional. If Georgia goes in there to Brian Denny and they put a whooping on Alabama, I completely understand it. Likewise, if Alabama beats up and just demolishes Georgia, I completely understand it. If they end up at number 1, I'm not opposed to that.
Even if it's a close game, it just kind of depends on how it plays out.
It's too big of a game to be like, oh, that team doesn't deserve to be number 1. It's just too big of a game.
Yeah.
Now, if Texas goes out and puts 75 points up on Mississippi State.
And what
do you do?
We'll see what happens then.
Right.
Miami number 6. I do think Cam Ward right now is the best quarterback in college football, not named Quinn Ewers when he's healthy.
I agree.
Yes, Miami's playing an atrocious conference, but man, he looks really good, and I enjoy watching.
He's good. I will say this, and a lot of people are not going to agree with me because people are still wearing that cape, but he's definitely better. He's playing better than Shedeur Sanders is right now.
I mean, that's you're not really saying anything crazy. Like believe it or not, you're not saying any. Shedeur Sanders, like, to me right now, probably isn't even a top 5 quarterback in the nation right now. He hasn't done anything for me. Like,
yeah, Nico, Quinn,
yep,
Milroe, Cam,
yep,
Dart,
Jackson, yep.
Then maybe Shedeur.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then maybe Shedeur. But then you look at Drew Aller. Drew Aller's playing really well right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can't forget him. Listen, being 6 or 7 is not bad. Does not mean you're bad. These quarterbacks are.
When you're trying to be the number 1 pick, like your dad's predicting you to be, then it's pretty bad.
I mean, listen, he's selling his quarterback.
Sure. No, he's selling his time.
Is there a bit of nepotism in that? Absolutely. Am I against nepotism? Not in this instance. Listen,
I'm not. No, do what you got to do.
I don't care what people think. Yeah. I'm for it. Be completely honest.
Call yourself all you can, bro. Knock yourself out.
Don't like bringing race into the situation, but if we can get more black quarterbacks in the league, I'm okay with it. You just got to get there and produce. You can't mess it up.
You gotta learn how to, you can't go into the NFL. This is my biggest problem with Shedeur. He holds onto the ball too long. He'll get murdered in the NFL like that.
God, yes, he does.
He'll get murdered in the NFL like that. And he's doing this against not very good defensive lines.
I really hope that for his sake that he goes to a team where they have like a West Coast style offense where he can get the ball out really quick and he doesn't have to do too much because he can throw the rock. We've seen it.
Oh, he can definitely throw.
He can
He's
fling.
actually pretty accurate too.
He can fling it. So again, not to beat up, Cam Ward, best quarterback in the league right now. Do I think he's going to win the Heisman? No. Do I think he should? Absolutely. Yeah. Right now, yes.
Yeah. Today, he's probably number one in the Heisman rankings for me.
Yeah,
I'd probably put Travis under number 2 because I think he's made a bigger impact on that team than Shedeur has.
Yeah.
And then
Travis played both ways, and he
he's killing him both ways.
Basically beat Baylor.
Yeah, he basically beat everybody they beat. So
yeah,
I mean,
he basically beat Baylor. Like that game was very entertaining last week. Yeah,
by the way, we'll see what Colorado's all about this week when they play UCF. UCF's got a couple really good running backs.
UCF has a fantastic offense.
Yeah, and Gus Malzahn is going to be licking his chops when he sees that all they do is play man to man, and all he's just going to do is line it up.
Man, say what you want about
shove that rock down their throat.
Say what you want about Gus Malzahn. When it comes to Gus Malzahn and drawn up offense. Yo,
I think that Colorado defense is in trouble this week.
I think so too.
We'll see. Hey, we'll see. I've never seen Deion Sanders teams put up 2 in a row convincingly, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Baylor, let's just be honest. And Baylor's not very good. Baylor sucks.
Baylor's not good. Baylor's on a down and a down year, but
I don't know what Dave Aranda's doing in Baylor. He had one good year, and then they just been kind of blah from there.
Man, yeah. Baylor, they'll get it together. This is gonna take them a while. They gotta get some pieces, man. They need to get some pieces.
Heading in the year 4, so
they've lost their defensive line, and it just I felt like their confidence is tanked.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Ole Miss number 7. Ole Miss is putting up 70 points a game, but they also haven't played anybody.
Right. It's hard to say you're not the best in the country when you're putting up 70 points a week.
Yeah. So Jackson Dart looks really good. Lane Kiffin finally looks like that offense and that defense is cooking. Right. I'm very interested to see how they fare in conference play.
Absolutely.
Penn State number 8. Again, it's kind of the same thing. This offense does look better than it has in the past. But we'll see what happens with them. Oregon number 9. Oregon's had 2 meh games and 1 really good game. I need to see them play a good game against a good team, and my barometer for Oregon is to see how they do against Ohio State next week, or in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, that's my barometer. Utah is 10. They just continue to find ways to win, man.
Yeah,
they true freshmen on the road at Oklahoma State. Hell, even Quinn Ewers didn't look that good doing that. So, and I'm okay with admitting Quinn Ewers was terrible. But you know what happened to Quinn Ewers after he lost that? You know what Steve Sarkisian said? I'm not benching him. So, I mean, 5-star quarterbacks. Not everybody's is built to keep their 5-star quarterbacks in the lineup. So, not everyone's built that way. But we are at Texas, and it's paid dividends. So, and then for now, I have UNLV number 12. This isn't going to last. It's just based off of what we know on the field. I'm not going to take off the field shenanigans. To enter the on the field rankings. They have looked like the best G5 school. Boise State's right there, and I think they might end up
right there.
And they have the best running back in college football right now. Ashton Jeanty is really good.
You want to talk about Heisman? That dude is definitely up there too. He's fun to watch, dude. He
is fun to watch. He's a great runner. He's very patient. He can hit the hole fast. He can get the tough yards. He can get the long runs. He's a very good running back. So,
quick question: when Gentry does go to the league, does he go first round?
I think it's too early to tell. I think there's some projections that do have him first round, but also the value of the running back is so deteriorated in the NFL game that it's really hard to tell.
Right. Okay.
That's the problem. That's the problem with that. It's just such a deteriorated position that they can get 2 4th, 5th round running backs and they accomplish what they need.
Yeah,
that's the problem with a guy like Ashton Jeanty. So he's got to be able to bring the receiving game into the league to make his value go up. You really need a Bijan type running back to go that high in the draft as a running back.
Right. Yeah, so, for sure. They play Washington State this week. On the
I'll be keeping an eye out. Washington State looks pretty good so far.
Washington State is 4-0. Washington State is
Yep.
4-0.
They look pretty good.
They could take an L this week. I hope not. I hope they continue to win.
Why
But
Washington State? I rebuilt Washington State in my dynasty. Now I can't beat them.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I ran into I finally got to Texas after 2 years at Cincinnati. And I recruited the number 1 quarterback in college football, and now he is unstoppable. He won the Heisman when I left, and now I'm playing him again I'm getting ready to play him again. That first game was very, very difficult.
Yep.
He ran all over the place, and there was nothing I could do.
It's a good game. All righty, Tim. Let's talk about the game last week.
Yeah.
Of course, Texas beats down ULM, and the game was never really close. But there's a couple things that I want to talk about that we expected, right? Now there's some things where it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't think he was going to throw an interception, but 51-3, Texas wins. Arch Manning ends 15 of 29, 258, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
Yep.
What are your initial thoughts on Arch's performance? If you were to give him a letter grade, what would that be?
It'd be a B. Okay, so what we got to look at is we got to look at the interception. One of those interceptions, it was a bad throw. Tried to put it in somewhere where he shouldn't have. The second one was not his fault; it was wide receiver's fault. So
did he get tipped? The second one, I can't remember.
It got grazed. And you know how all it takes is a fingertip, and it'll put the ball in a different spot. So
yeah,
can't get mad at that. Couldn't get mad at that. Again, not too many penalties, not too many crazy things happening. He threw a lot more than I thought. 15 for 29, which had him at a QBR of 71.3, if I'm not mistaken. So he did look decent. I'm glad that we were able to run the ball. I'm glad to see Jaden Blue was running the ball and was able to get the multiple touchdowns and things like that. That was really good. Glad to see other guys get involved, even like Colin Page, Jarrett Gibson, even Reed Watkins got in there. Of course, Isaiah Bond, Golden, Ryan Wingo, Jonte Cook. I'd like to see Jonte Cook get a little bit more love in that game, but again, I mean, it was a blowout, and you can't get everybody the ball. I didn't like the one negative rushing yard that he had, or the rushing attempt. I didn't like the play call for Arch. That was one thing that stood out. I know I'm kind of being
run the ball a lot. I think it felt like there was an intention to keep him in the pocket and make him throw.
Yeah, I mean, there was one situation where he was trying to make something happen and he lost 4 yards. I didn't necessarily like that. I think he was just a little antsy in the pocket. Again, this was in the first half of the game. After that,
he settled in.
Yeah, he settled in. So major shout outs to them. Hey, listen, defensive wise, was putting hats on hats. I don't want to butcher this man's name. Luaufu.
Leon Galafau.
Oh my God. You want to talk about being everywhere?
Yeah.
That kid was everywhere. Again,
you know what they did with him? They developed him.
Oh yeah.
Leon Galafau was a train wreck when he first got to Texas. By the way, 3-star guy.
3-star guy.
Has been very well developed in this Texas system. And Nansen is doing some great work with these linebackers. Anthony Hill looks amazing.
Yeah.
And Anthony Hill, just based off of who he is, we knew was going to be really good. He had a pick six.
Yep.
Sorry, he had a pick six that got called back off a stupid block in the back penalty.
Right.
From Trey Moore.
Yeah. Listen, I understand what we were going up against. I completely understand I thought that it would be a big blowout. I'm just glad that everybody's okay. Nobody's gotten hurt. They played a relatively clean game.
Didn't we have a couple injuries?
Nothing significant where they will miss a significant amount of time.
Okay.
I'm not like I'm talking about abdominal strains, knee injuries. You know how it was when Kelvin Banks Jr. went down. I was nervous, dog. Like because he went down, it didn't look good. It was just a nasty roll up type situation. None of that, there's none of that. And so it was a good win. I'm glad to see the defenses continue to fly, continue to tackle lots of solo tackles. That's good. That means you're winning your battles and you're getting to the ball. That's a good
You're
thing.
tackling well. Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody,
a couple of times, there were some missed tackles he wasn't happy about. Overall, still
right.
A really good tackling game from Texas. I'm gonna go back to Arch real quick.
Okay. Yeah, do your thing.
Arch was very good in the deep ball. Like that's clearly his thing.
That is his thing. Yeah, I think that is.
He wants to push the ball down the field, and I think that's kind of like how Sark wants to operate. If you look at that Alabama team with all those wide receivers, they pushed the ball down the field a lot.
They had the speed to do it, and this is what
we still do. Yeah, we still. This is the Sark offense that Sark wants to run.
Mm-hmm.
However, as good as Arch was throwing the ball down the field, he was equally as poor at the short and the intermediate stuff.
Yeah.
Was not impressed at all with the short and intermediate game. If we're talking about that, here's the thing about short and intermediate game, right? The long ball is going to score points more often than not.
Right.
The short and the intermediate game keeps the chains moving and keeps drives alive, right? And you need that when you get into December, when you get into these like rougher, like rivalry games.
Mm-hmm.
You need a guy that can keep the chains moving, because when you get to Dallas and if you can't keep the chains moving, it's gonna be rough. That's a rough day. Right?
We're not gonna be in Dallas anymore, sir. Atlanta.
No, I mean for Red River.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's Arlington.
Right.
But I mean, hey, when you get to Arlington, when you get to Atlanta, it's the same thing, right? Like when you get into these tough games, when you get Georgia in 4 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever that is, 3 weeks, like you're going to have to, not every drive you're just going to be able to chuck the ball down the field to Isaiah Bonnet and he's going to catch it, right? You're going to need these short and intermediate routes. I thought it was a great game for Arch to throw, to play. Gets him like comfortable, really understanding the weeks of preparation, what to expect when teams actually prepare for you, right? Teams got some tape, a little bit of tape. They have some tape now. I think that was it's exactly what I wanted from Arch. It was a great learning experience. I'm actually glad he turned the ball over and then was able to bounce back from it, right?
Yeah. To be fair, I'm okay with how he played, even with some of the mispasses and some of the intermediate and short stuff. It's his first game. It's literally his first game. And so for him to look that good in his first, collegiate game, I'm okay with. Of course, we don't want nobody wants the turnovers. Nobody wants the turnovers.
Yeah.
So if you can eliminate those turnovers, if you eliminate the turnovers, he might have more touchdowns. There's no telling.
Well, he could have had more touchdowns if they threw the ball more in the red zone. You could tell Sark wasn't really playing his red zone offense this week.
No. He said, "I'm running the ball."
He was intentionally I think he was trying to get Jaden Blue going,
right,
and getting him like his feet wet. Really, Sark wasn't focused on ULM, man. He was more focused on a worse Mississippi State team than he was focused on ULM, right?
Focused on getting his guys, ready, basically.
Yeah, SEC play starts for Texas this week. It's the only, I want to say, is Texas the only school that hasn't played an SEC game yet?
Yes, I believe so. I believe everybody else has played an SEC game except Texas.
Oh, Ole Miss and Alabama play their first SEC. Oh wow, this is Alabama's first SEC game this year. Oh, so that makes that game even more interesting.
Yeah. No.
Because
Oh,
Georgia's
you
had
know
an
what?
SEC
Okay. Yeah.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
Georgia's had an SEC game.
This
So-
is an interesting week, man. This is
3 of the top 4 teams have their first SEC games this week. So it'll be very interesting. I think Arch did well. Now, the focus turns to Quinn's health.
mhm.
So Sark had his presser today. He said we will know tomorrow what Quinn's
Right.
status is.
Let me
So
ask
we
you
will-
this. Do you think Quinn plays on Saturday?
Yes.
I think Quinn. I don't think Quinn plays. I think Quinn backs up Arch. I think Arch gets the start.
And Quinn
I
comes
think-
in.
I think Quinn gets suited up, and it's another situation like ULM. You get him in. Get Quinn back into the swing of things. He'll be back in. I think he will let Quinn suit up so he can see where he is. He's not going to start, but to see where he is, he's going to throw. He's going to chuck the deep ball.
Yeah.
He's going to throw. I think they're going to do everything that they can to make sure that Quinn is 100% healthy. And if he's not 100% healthy, how he looks doing what he knows how to do. And
Yeah,
that's getting the ball around.
It's a bye week, right? So
Right.
if you here's my thought process. If Quinn is 80% this week, he plays. And the reason why is Sark
I agree.
he takes conference play very seriously. He doesn't care how good or how bad the team is, right?
Right.
He takes conference play very seriously. He does not want to put, although Quinn can probably do it. The other thing is like there's a bye week in between now. And so you don't have like true like before OU game, right? You have
Mhm.
this week, you have a bye, and then we have Red River, which is different from what we've always both teams have a bye, right?
Always had a bye week prior to OU
Always
Texas.
had well, they've always had a bye week after the OU.
I'm sorry,
game.
after. I'm sorry.
This is the first time it's been before, and it's always been one or the other has a bye week. This week, both teams have a bye week.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit different. I think it's nice, but I also think from Sark's perspective, it's like if Quinn can play, I need him to play.
Mhm.
If it's just to get him get any rust, this is a great team. You're kind of pseudo treating it as another warm up game, if you will, because Mississippi State is that bad.
Right. I got a
if
question
there
for
was
you.
a warm up game that I would like for Quinn to play in, this is that game.
I got a question for you. In regards to Texas and Oklahoma, if Quinn is not 100%, do you start Arch?
By Dallas, no, I don't start Arch.
Okay.
I don't start.
If-
If Quinn can go, you play Quinn.
Okay.
Again, we know how weird that game can get,
Yep.
and chasing what we're trying to chase, which is titles. Like Sark said, he's obsessed with winning championships, right?
Right.
Sark's not going to take any risks. He's going to let Arch sit. Now, if Arch is able to get in the game because Oklahoma is getting blown out by 30 or 40, then which is a very realistic thing that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
As bad as this Oklahoma offense is, I don't care who their quarterback is. Their quarterback could be Pee Wee Herman. I don't care.
Right.
That offense is terrible.
right.
right. Whether and Oklahoma fans come roast me, I'll put this up. They could be hurt on the offensive line. They could not be developing players. I don't care what they're doing over there in
Yeah,
Norman.
because y'all don't care when we lose. You don't give a hot damn.
Yeah. They look terrible. Now on the flip side, though, that defense is. I will give credit. That defense is very good.
Yeah.
They're very good in the back end, especially in the back end. They are aggressive enough on the defensive line to challenge this Texas offensive line.
Do you think their defensive line is better than Michigan's?
No.
Do you think their defensive backs are better than Oklahoma's? I mean, do you think their defensive backs are better than Michigan's defensive backs?
Yes, as a unit, yes.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, that's fair. I understand. Like,
Here's the thing about Michigan's defensive backs: they have Will Johnson. That's it. And Will John, that defense flows as Will Johnson's as
Right.
that secondary flows. I think their defensive back it's not that they're not talented.
Right.
We've seen what that defensive back room can do. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about this around the nation. I have no idea what the hell Lincoln Riley was thinking last week. Because he should have exposed, and we can go talk about around the nation. I want to talk about this USC Michigan game. Number one, it was a good game.
Yeah, it was.
Number two, I think Lincoln Riley, I don't know what he was trying to do. Yes, Michigan ran the ball a lot, and we know Lincoln Riley's defenses do not fare well against the run. But really, in totality, they only gave up 3 big runs. Unfortunately, those 3 big runs cost them points.
Right. That
It's a mid tackle here and there in open space. It's the same Lincoln Riley defensive stuff over again, right?
That USC offense looked relatively stale. I know that sounds crazy because Moss threw for like 300, almost 300 yards, and he had a couple of
one pick, right?
One pick. I think he threw for three touchdowns, maybe 2. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was 3.
3. Okay, 3. Yeah. 3. But outside of that, and those were like, I don't know. It's gonna sound really. Those came after those came in the second half. They adjusted really well, but they couldn't stop Michigan from running the ball.
Well, their first half,
they had 3 major runs on that defense that happened, and that was nasty. We're talking like 50 yards.
Yeah, well, you had the long. Edwards had a long run, right?
Yep.
And then Mullings had a run that was the backbreaker.
Dude, Mullings run. Oh man,
it goes to show, and again, it's not that Michigan was bad when we beat them. Texas is just that good,
right?
Because Texas made Michigan's offensive line and Michigan's run game look like a high school football team.
Yep, sure did.
And so that win for Michigan and the way they won actually favors Texas.
It looks good.
So it looks really good. Builds the strength up. That's the best win in college football right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 1,000%. Listen, Michigan had, like, from what I remember, they had the ball just as long as USC did. Yeah, like it was like, I can't remember who was talking about it. I want to say Joe Clatton. Joe Clatton. I always watch Joe Clatton Colin go at it because Joe Clatton.
This afternoon.
Joe Clatton reminds me of not Joe Clatton. Colin Cowherd reminds me of Skip Bayless. Just he doesn't just blurt stuff out. He doesn't just blurt stuff out. Like he really thinks about what he's saying. 95% of the time, I still don't agree with him. But and he's a USC guy. He's a big USC guy. So to see them go at it back and forth about that game in particular, I always listen to what they got to say, because Joel's going to hit you with the facts. And one of the major facts that he was talking about was like they almost had the ball, like it was almost a dead split on how much like time possession they had. It was almost like, I think it was like
it was
Michigan was like almost 30 minutes and USC was like at 30 minutes.
Yeah. SC 30-42, Michigan 29-18.
Wow, that's nuts.
Michigan had 32 passing yards,
but how many rushing yards?
290.
Oh my god.
Texas had 80. They had 80 against Texas total.
Jesus.
They had 80 in the first quarter against Michigan.
That's crazy. Listen, I personally,
that's how good our Texans are.
If Michigan is if Michigan's gonna play like that,
You know what? If
They,
Michigan,
they,
even
they
if Michigan
still
plays
may
like
be able
that,
to do something. They still may be able to do something.
I still don't think they're good enough to beat Texas.
No. I'm not saying that. Listen,
I
I'm watching. I'm just like you are. I'm looking at these other teams and I'm measuring these teams up against each other,
sure.
style wise. If Michigan is going to have the ball for 30 minutes, basically, do you think and they're effective and they're able to run like they are? Don't you think that they can beat Oregon?
Easily.
Don't
I
you
think
think?
Oregon's the same. The Oregon has the same problem USC has. They can't tackle. Ashton Genty just ran all over them.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, I'm looking at styles and fights, like
yeah, for sure.
That's how I'm looking at these things, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, we caught Michigan, we thumped them real good, right? They write these guys off. Everybody, I'm not gonna lie, I wrote them off. I just didn't feel confident enough, especially with the quarterback play. I didn't feel confident enough to be like, oh, they're gonna make it to the playoff. I can't say that now. If they're gonna run the ball like that, and they are able to run the ball like that, I just don't feel that there is anybody in the Big Ten that has a defense and that is strong enough to stop and compete with Michigan's running offense right now, especially the way that they just did. I just don't see it.
There might be one, and that's Ohio State, but even that's kind of up in the air.
We don't know. Like
I said it's up in the air.
That game is going to be the last game of the year. It's going to be cold no matter where they're at.
So you're going to find strength on strength.
Offensive line versus defensive line.
I don't know how good Ohio State's offensive line is. I think Michigan's defensive line is going to be excellent by then.
Yeah, because Michigan, listen, one thing we can both say is Michigan's defensive line.
This is crazy.
And the offensive line, they're good. They're good regardless of what people think. That's not a bad. They just can't they can't push the ball down the field. If they had could you imagine if they had like a Kyle McCord
or JJ McCarthy
or JJ
McCarthy was back. They also don't have receivers that can separate like the receivers they had last year.
It don't matter.
That's the problem with their run. And Alex Orji couldn't throw a ping pong ball, but they just do not have. Yeah, they like from the passing game perspective. I think Alex Orji just needs to develop into a better passer.
Yeah,
because early on in JJ McCarthy's career, he wasn't a very accurate thrower of the football.
Yeah,
but they had the run game to lean on. And the defense to lean on.
Exactly. I feel like it comes with time. You give them time. You also got to get some playmakers outside of the ball.
Yeah, you really do.
And go from there. So
I did not.
I wanted to run over a couple of the games this week before we move on. So we got week 5. We have Miami versus Virginia Tech. That's tomorrow, 6:30. That's gonna be a damn good game. That's a rivalry game. Regardless of what Virginia Tech may look like, being 2-2, that's still a rivalry game. There's no telling how that game's going to go. BYU Baylor, that's a Saturday. You got Kansas and Oklahoma State. That's going to be an interesting game. Michigan versus Minnesota. Kentucky versus Ole Miss.
That's going to be a good game.
That's going to be a good game. You can't just.
We'll see what Ole Miss is made out of now.
Yeah. You can't just sweep over that. Arkansas versus A&M. I think they beat them. Louisville versus Notre Dame. Again, that's another one. If Louisville beats Notre Dame and they beat them down, they're playing at Notre Dame. If they beat them down, Notre Dame is done, and Louisville should be in the top 10. Wisconsin versus USC. I'm not high on this game because I just don't think that Wisconsin is putting up enough points against USC, but we shall see. It's at the Rose Bowl, so we'll see. Oklahoma versus Auburn. I think Auburn is gonna beat Oklahoma. I know Auburn.
This is gonna be. It's gonna be like a 9-6 game. Like if you want offense, do not watch this game because you will fall asleep.
Yeah,
Both of these offenses are terrible.
You got Michigan, Mississippi State, Texas. We'll get to that and what we think the schedule is going to, or what the score is going to be when we cover that. Stanford versus Clemson. Stanford's 2-1. I just like Clemson's defensive line is nice. It's really nice. Iowa State versus Houston. I think Iowa State gets it done. They're 3-0 right now. Houston is struggling.
Well, they're terrible. They don't know quarterback.
They do not look good.
Which makes it even worse why Oklahoma could barely beat them. They got boat raced last week by Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah. Ohio State beats Michigan. Ohio State plays Michigan at Michigan. Michigan is 3-1. Michigan State is 3-1. I'm sorry. I think Ohio State walks in there and walks out with
that. Don't forget the night game.
Yeah, I'm not missing that one. I just want to cover these other ones. Penn State versus Illinois. That's a game that everybody should be paying attention to. Yep. Usually Penn State has a hiccup. This is one of the games where I think they have a hiccup. South Alabama. So? Yeah. South Alabama versus that Illinois offense is nasty.
Alabama. That was a fun game last week.
Yeah. South Alabama versus LSU. That's a dub for LSU. Boise State, Washington, we talked about that earlier. I'm hoping for Boise State to get the dub just because I like Gentry so much. This is a game that you talked about at the beginning of the year, Harish, that a lot of people are not going to be paying attention to, which is Arizona going to Utah. That could be a Big 12 championship match right there.
I will say this about this game, and this is just because I have Arizona winning the Big 12. This is a
must win for Arizona.
This is a conference defining moment for Arizona. They did not look good against Kansas State a couple weeks ago, and now it's an old Big 10 rivalry game, right? So or old Pac-12 rivalry. I mean, both, right? Because they were both in the Big 10, both in the Pac-12. Yeah. They just keep the same rivalry, move to a different conference, right? So I will, if Cam Rising plays this game, I am fearful for Arizona. But if he doesn't, I think Arizona should win this game.
I think Cam Rising is going to be out for a while.
I think you're going to find an upset here. If Cam Rising does not play, you will find an upset here.
I think Cam Rising is going to be out for a while because he messed up his hand, dog. Like, he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, and Arizona's coming off of a bye. Utah is coming off of a very physical game from Oklahoma State. So it should be very interesting.
Yeah, Oregon, UCLA. I think Oregon comes out on that. UCLA does not look good, even with what's my man from Kansas City, Eric Bieniemy. It just doesn't look good right now. And then that night game, the night game of all night games, at 6:30, we got Georgia going to Alabama, dog. I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend like I know who's gonna win this game. I've been going back and forth. My only thing is those injuries, how those injuries are looking against Carson Beck and that tackle. I cannot remember this guy's name from
right guard. I don't know if they announced any. I don't know what his status is for the game. Let me see.
I haven't seen anything. I've heard about Carson Beck that his shoulder's okay. He's gonna play, but that game is gonna be physical. That's gonna be a beat 'em up game. Somebody's coming out of there. His heads are gonna roll. Right now, I'm leaning Alabama. I'm sorry. I'm leaning Alabama. What I've seen from Alabama recently within the last the game against Wisconsin was impressive. I don't like the fact that they depend on Jalen Milroe so much to be their offense. But I think if there's a game that Alabama can get Georgia, this is the game. At home. This is the game.
Yeah.
This is it. So I'm saying I'm giving Alabama fans, I'm giving Alabama like that home hometown, atmosphere and that like hometown, I get that home. I don't know. I don't know what the name of it is, but I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm just
Home field advantage.
home field advantage. Thank you. I couldn't get that out. Anyway, I'm giving them the home field advantage. I like Alabama's receivers are pretty good too. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah, they have Ryan Williams, who's pretty good.
Yeah, he looks good. He looked really good against Wisconsin. Carson Beck, listen, Carson Beck and Georgia, they struggled against that first half against Clemson. That was very telling. There was no Brock Bowers to clean up a lot of the mess that was going on. And I think Alabama is better than Georgia. I think Alabama is better than Clemson. So it's kind of hard to not. It's kind of hard to pick against them right now. It's just hard. It is hard right now. If you said you gotta pick, I gotta roll with Bama.
Well, it's a pick'em game. Like the spread is basically Georgia's favored by 1, right?
It's a pick'em game.
It's a pick. For Texas's sake, I'm gonna pick Georgia. As Texas fans, we should want Georgia to win this game.
1,000%.
Georgia has to win this game for Texas's sake.
1,000%.
So that is what I'm going to bank on. I think Georgia's going to win a close one, probably a field goal. I'm not confident about the pick because but also we don't know. Like this is Kalen DeBoer's first big game at Alabama.
Yep.
Kirby Smart is 1-5 against Alabama, but that's all Nick Saban Alabama teams. He's never faced Kalen DeBoer as a head coach.
Yep.
This is a very intriguing matchup. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. But I will take Georgia because we need Georgia to keep winning because we have to beat Georgia as the number 2 country in the team.
Yep. I believe that. 1,000%.
So I'm going to take Georgia just based off of my own personal fandom. It is a toss. I just hope it's a good game. I don't really have a dog in the race, if you will.
Right.
But I do have a preference of one team or another.
Me as a Texas fan, of course you want Georgia to be good because you want Texas to get that first loss against Georgia. You want that. You want that because you want, if that's the only loss that they get, that's the win. You want to be that one solid team that gave them that loss so that when it comes down to the national championship, playoff implications, SEC championship situations, you want Texas to be that one asterisk there for Georgia if they run the table. Let's get to.
Well, I have a question for you.
Huh?
A question for you.
Yeah.
Whoever loses this game, do they have a shot at making the SEC title game?
No, but I still believe that they have a great shot at making the playoff.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think the loser of this game is out of the SEC title game because there's too many good teams. There's Texas, there's Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I take that back. There's a shot. It's very difficult, right? Because Georgia plays
Tennessee loses
and Tennessee.
Right.
Like Georgia could lose this game. Theoretically, Georgia could lose this game, beat Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and still make the SEC title game.
And don't forget, you still got Ole Miss in there with Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's deep.
It gets very dicey.
Yeah.
I don't think that they don't think they would, but it's possible. The road just becomes a lot harder.
Right, but this is where this is in a sense where that 12-team playoff comes into play because now, you didn't go undefeated, but you still get a shot.
Sure, but it's also the difference between getting a bye week or having to play a game at home, or having to play your first game on the road. Remember, the first round of the playoff is a home game for the higher seed. So now we're talking seeding, which does matter. So this
Yeah.
is a big game with playoff implications. It's crazy. It's wild that this game is in September,
Yeah, for sure. I
but it's
mean,
also really cool. This is
yeah,
why I love this season.
we don't get games like this without a 12 seed playoff. We just don't get
Or without the conferences we have now.
Yeah, you don't get it. So
Yeah.
Rounding things out, we're gonna go into Mississippi State versus Texas. Texas is a huge
38 and a half or 39 and a half.
something like that.
Something crazy.
39 and a half. I don't see Texas losing this game. The last 3 games that Mississippi State has played, they have not looked great. They did put up a fight, but they didn't look great. They beat Eastern Kentucky. Then they played Arizona State. They lost to Arizona State. Yep. They also lost to Toledo, which was
they got boat raced by Toledo.
41-17. They go to Florida State. They get some garbage time touchdowns against Florida. I'm sorry, not Florida State. They get some garbage time touchdowns against Florida. That game did not look the same. Bam. You lose still, but you lose 45 to 28.
45, 21 or 28. Yeah.
And you get, you score your basically a touchdown a quarter. So Florida basically dumped you. They put 21 in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that game. Yeah. I watched that game. That did not look good.
That was brutal.
It was
a brutal, like the early slate last week was brutal to watch.
Yeah, it was real bad. And then you got Texas coming in here. Of course, you got Jared Gibson looking real good. Jared Gibson is a rushing leader right now. He has 210 yards. Of course, Blue got hurt last week, so he doesn't really have, he doesn't have the stats that these other backs have currently. But again, I think Texas rolls here. There isn't anything that I'm like, oh, I gotta look out. You gotta look out for this guy. I mean, Blake Shapen, he looks okay.
He's out for the season.
He's out.
He got hurt last week.
Oh gosh, I thought he was gonna start.
He's out for the season.
Oh, that's right. He got carted off.
Yeah.
Nah, dog.
You're starting a freshman.
The Chris Parson.
I think something like that.
Chris Parson. Chris Parson is going to be running for his life.
Yeah, it's something like that. Chris
Parson. Yeah.
Okay.
Chris Parson gets the start. Yep, it's Chris Parson. Yikes.
Yeah, lost for the season with a shoulder injury. No, Michael Van Buren is his name. That's his name.
Michael Van Buren?
Yep.
That's going to get the start?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
He looked terrible against Florida.
So. He had 100 yards. QBR 58. But anyway, I don't see Texas losing this game. I think it's a blowout. Do you have anything? I know it's hard to be like try to get up for a game like this when it's a smaller team, but I mean, you have to look at this realistically. They just have not looked really good at all. You can't let Toledo do what they've done to you. You can't let Florida just score 21 in one quarter. You can't do that. And when you do that, you don't win. you don't win. And Texas looks healthy. Again, we'll see what Quinn looks like. We'll find out tomorrow what the status of Quinn is tomorrow. Yeah. But other than that, man, like I just don't see it happening. I do have a score in my head. I'm gonna keep it light. I'm gonna say it's gonna be like 55-7, 55-3. I don't
Okay.
see it going over 10 points for Mississippi State. If it does, it'll be some garbage time touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be that situation though.
Yeah, but even like the third and fourth string guys are playing hard, man. Like those guys are balling too. Like Alex January played really well last week. Wardell Matt got a game-sealing interception. Last week was Javion Cole. Like this Texas defense is playing very well from top to bottom right now. There's zero chance Texas loses this game. Like they're like literally zero chance Texas loses this game. And if they do lose this game somehow, like Texas could play an F game in this game and still win by like 17 points.
Right.
That's how bad Mississippi State is. And for those of you that want to complain about, well, Texas got a great easy schedule, go look at A&M's schedule the first year they were in the conference. They had an easy schedule. They went 11-2. They played 3 ranked opponents. 2 of them they lost. Half of their wins came against teams that were under 500. So I don't want to hear it.
Yep.
Google is very easy to use. Go use it. Yes, they did beat number 1 Alabama that year. Everybody remembers that game. But
they beat the number 1 team in the nation and didn't do anything with it.
Right. Well, they A&M did, which is what they normally do. So, yeah. And then they beat Oklahoma in the bowl game that year.
Everybody wasn't that the year that Oklahoma went like 8-5?
Something. They were terrible.
They were not good. They were not the Oklahoma that we know.
Yeah. That Oklahoma team was better than this one this year.
Yeah.
So, I think Texas wins this game. I don't care if Texas could win this game. Trey Owens starts the game, and they'll be fine.
Trey Owens is a beast.
I mean, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like he could start the game, and they'd be fine, right?
Shout out to Jay Fowler. He said Overshow is balling right now. Hey man, listen, that's why we was trying to do an early show because I'm a Cowboys fan. Go Cowboys! You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them Cowboys. And hopefully I can catch it within the next few minutes. So,
appreciate you, Jay Fowler. Go ahead and hit the like button, bro. You know you want to subscribe.
Yes,
show love. That's my homie from high school. I appreciate you, Jay.
Oh, that's what's up. Shout out Jay Fowler, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Like, there's no chance they win this game, bro. There's literally zero chance. So. I have Texas winning 55-10.
I like it.
I think they're going to get a couple. They will get like a defensive touchdown this week. Somebody's getting it in pick 6. I don't know who.
Pick 6.
But somebody's getting one.
Shout out to the defensive backs, man, flying to the ball, man.
The defensive backs are balling right now.
Yep.
Andrew McCullough is killing it in the back end of the secondary.
Look real good.
We can finally play man defense. And I love it. Oh my God, I've been waiting so long for Kwiatkowski to throw out man defense, and he finally has the corners to do it.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's so nice to see. It is what this defense was missing last year. I think Trey Moore finally gets off the schneid. I think this is a game for him to do that. And somebody's getting a pick 6. Silas Bolden is going to get a punt return for a touchdown.
Oh, that would be great.
Or a kickoff. Some sort of special teams play is going to happen this year.
Listen, I expect Texas to come out high energy again, being the first SEC opponent that they will face. I expect Ole Miss to come out with some high energy. However, at this point, I just believe that Texas's talent will outshine the situation, and Texas will prevail pretty easily here. So that's why I have a 55-7 score. I definitely see a lot of young talent getting in there again. I'm expected to see a lot of the younger guys in the third quarter, fourth quarter, getting those reps in. I think Sark. I'm so happy that Sark is about getting the young guys the reps. I'm so happy.
Flexibility too.
Right. It's like he gets up for it. You know, he gets up for getting those guys in there, getting those guys reps. Listen, if those guys aren't getting playing time, it's a possibility that they can transfer. And when you're able to get these guys on the field for a half of a game, I mean, it just goes to show it greases the palms. It keeps you guys settled to be like, hey, listen, if I get in here, I know I'm going to be able to get the ball. We're not choking. We're not choking things away. We're not sitting on the ball. We're not being not aggressive. We're being aggressive. We're getting these plays off, and we're getting in the end zone. And that's what I like. How many times have we, from even past podcasts, how many times have I said Texas will play one good half of football, come out, lay a dud in the second half, and that is annoying. That is the most annoying thing, I would say, within the last 5 years of being a Texas fan. Texas will come out and literally blow the doors off of everybody. Come back out the second round or that second half and just completely squat on. The first year that Sark was here, literally led every game by halftime and blew almost every one of them.
Yeah.
It was a 3 to 7 points was the margin for each game.
It's crazy. I mean, this team has grown a lot, and I think Sark is just like a coach and a person has grown a lot. And I said that I was talking to someone, I think it was a YouTube comment maybe I put up earlier, and it was like Sark's growth, and he said, since his USC days is really showing. And yes, Alabama is a big part of this, but if you look at like even the coach that he was, again, people have to remember Sark has built really good teams.
Yeah.
Sark has never been able to fully lead all his fully built teams. He left at Washington before that thing took off. The whole thing at US, dude, Sark had a baller of a team at USC. People forget how good those teams were, and he couldn't lead it because of everything that happened with him personally, right?
Right.
This is the first team Sark has had where he's actually been able to build it and move it forward past year 3, year 4, right? And look at the results. Like Sark's big time, man. He is very quickly showing he will be a top dog in college football in the next 2 to 3 years. Yep. He will be the best college. He will be the best college football. He will be the best coach in the nation probably by the end of this year. And I don't know if that means he'll win a national title this year. I don't know. I hope it does, right? I'd love to win a national title with Quinn, but we are winning a national title with Arch. I don't know if that's 1 or 2, but we are winning 1 for sure. I can fully be convincing in saying that again. And Jay Fowler says, nice to see a Texas team that feels like a Texas team again. 100%. Jay, do you remember like back in the days when we were in school, we were talking about Texas all the time, and then we graduated and like the start of the duds, we were like, oh my gosh, like this Texas team just cannot get out of its own way. It was always something. Offensive line was bad. Quarterback play was bad. The head coach was a potato head. Like there was just like so many different things that was wrong with this program. And it is so awesome to be able to sit here and say, you know what, I'm covering the best team in the nation. And honestly, it's not even close right now. I think Texas is the best team in college football, and it's not close.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I definitely feel the same way. Yeah, man. This is something that I think Sark is really taking. Again, we know his situation. Like you could just tell that he's not taking anything for granted.
Yeah,
not this.
All right, Tim, I know you want to go watch the Cowboys. Let's get out of here so you can do that. Before we do that, where can the people find you?
Oh yeah, you can find me at Tim Wayne on Twitter. You know, if you want to talk crap about the Cowboys, that's fine. I think Jerry Jones needs to go, of course, but we all know that he ain't going nowhere until he kicks the bucket. Unfortunately, but yeah, you can also find me at Longhorn Fan Battle. Man, I do want to mention one thing that before we go here, there was a comment that Makuba made last week, Taft was talking about, and I made a post about it, and it got a lot of noise. And that is the fact that they had a post game interview, and they asked Makuba, like, how does it feel to be back in Austin, and just the normal stuff. And he made a comment. He said, "Listen, like me, Michael Taft, Jade Barron, we want to put on for Austin because that's where we're from, and we want to show that that there's talent in Austin." And I've been preaching this since I was in high school. Back in 2005, right? Like I'm an older guy, right? I don't think I'm old. Other people would say I'm old. I don't give a fuck. I don't think I'm old. Back then, what these kids would do, I think about like Derek Strait. I think about all these other kids that go to these different schools, and then they come in, they play Texas, and then they blow them out of the water, right? And these are kids that are in inner city Austin, and they're not getting the love that they deserve. I think about Shed when he was at Conley and he ended up going to U of H. And then we play him in basketball and he completely puts on a show and gets himself like just shot up the draft boards where he was a low round second round pick to where he ends up being like in that that low end first round to high second round draft pick, and now they're talking about how good he is and how great of a fit he is, and he's gonna contribute and all this stuff like that. I think about those guys, and I think about these kids, and they're kids in inner city Austin, not Pflugerville, not Round Rock, not Lake Travis. I'm talking inner city Austin that are talented kids.
Yeah, you're talking about your LBJs. You're talking about your Austin Highs, like
LBJ, Austin High, McCallum,
Anderson. They're not great football programs right now, right? Anderson's not a great football program, but they got some kids.
Yeah, they've got
not a great program. LBJ's on the rise as a program.
Yeah,
and they've also got an insane amount of talent.
Yeah.
We're not to, I would agree with that. Like Austin High is, in the past we've missed out on Austin High guys, and they've had some great talents.
Yeah.
What's another school I'm thinking of that's like produced talent? Oh,
man, even Lanier. I mean, they don't go by Lanier anymore, but back in the day, they had these kids. I mean, you had Roosevelt's weak son. They go by Navarro. That whole slavery.
That's what that was?
Yeah,
that's who that is? I had no idea.
Yeah, Navarro. Now, Navarro's not a good anymore, but they had Roosevelt Leake's son that played on that championship Texas team. Prentice Leaks. He ends up, instead of going to Texas, he ends up at Alabama State where he fucking shined and looked great. You got, again, Derek Strait, who was, again, 10 minutes away from the University of Texas, goes to Oklahoma and completely blows Texas out of the water the entire time that he was at Oklahoma. Goes to place for the Jets, looks really good for the Jets until he runs into the injury bug. You have Chris Houston. Chris Houston played at LBJ, gets recruited by Arizona State, plays in the league for a long time. I want to say 9, almost 10 years in the league. There are kids that are here in inner city Austin that can play. And that has been my thing. I'm glad that these kids that are there, I'm glad that these young men that are there are literally putting on for their city because there is talent. Again, my thing was Austin has always had talent. This is what I tweeted out. Austin has always had talent. It just takes Texas to look for the talent and develop it. That's all I've always said. And I'm not just saying that because I was in Austin and, I'm born and raised Austin and wanted to get recruited by Texas. I'm just saying, hey, this is what it is. Emory Blake, same thing with Emory Blake. Jay Fowler said the same thing. Emory Blake, he fizzled out at Auburn, but he was phenomenal as a high school kid here. That for y'all that don't know who Emory Blake is, that's Jeff Blake, who was the quarterback at Cincinnati. He was here
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We can go back. We can go back some time. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming in and tuning in. Hit me up at Tim Wayne. Let's talk. Let's talk football.
Speaking of guys in Austin, well, this is Lake Travis. It's not really Austin. Gus Cardova, 4-star defensive end, committed to USC in the 2025 class.
Ew, that hurts.
I mean, it was a while ago, but to your point, right? Like we're talking about Austin guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Rivals. He's like top 25 in the Rivals rankings.
Yep.
We'll see if you know they can. I don't know. I don't think he had any. I think he's from California. He didn't have interest in coming to Texas.
Right.
But I don't know. Now, trying to see who else is on this list. There's a guy. I don't know if he's at Conley this year or he's at Pflugerville. There's a guy in Pflugerville. No, it's just Gus. I think there's a guy. I need to find out. Adrian Wilson, yeah, 4-star wide receiver. Number 18th ranked player in the state. Goes to Weiss. Commits to Arizona State.
Okay.
Like there's guys here. You're talking inner city, and I get that, but I'm talking like we're going to combine Dallas DFW as a metroplex or a metropolitan area.
I mean, I've always said that Austin. Me being from Austin, I've always looked at Pflugerville, Cedar Park, Leander, Lake Travis. Those are all we would call that Greater Austin because back in the day, like even if you lived in those areas, when you would get mail, it would still say Austin, Texas on it. And I think even nowadays in some of those spots, I know for sure, like you got to get almost to Georgetown to get, or almost to Round Rock to get a Pflugerville address, printed on your actual mail. So half of Pflugerville is still considered Austin. So I'm not knocking those. I'm just saying, listen, there's talent there. All you got to do is look for it and develop it. It's there. I understand you're not going to get all of it, but
we can definitely develop it for sure.
Take the time to look and weed through the weeds. They do that everywhere else. They do it everywhere else. They'll go to Houston. They'll go through all the high schools in Houston. They'll go through all the high schools in Dallas. They'll go through all the high schools in different parts of San Antonio and all these other cities. Do it in your backyard because people are coming and plucking these kids from your backyard and they're going and being successful is basically what I'm saying.
Nope, that's fair. I think I was just taking a look at all the guys that are in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
And in this class, right? If I look at 2025, there's definitely some guys here that we're probably not looking at that you can build into talents. Mm-hmm. So
for sure.
But all right, Tim, we'll get out of here. You can find me at the Uncle Gandhi here live, normally every Thursday nights, 8:30 p.m. Here live on YouTube, live on Twitter. We appreciate you guys coming in. But between now and then, my name's Harish. That's my guy, Tim. We out of here.
Joe Gabriel.
Peace.
Go home. Touchdown like the end zone.